Joining me now by phone, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. General Blanche, good to have you with us today. Your reaction to this very significant verdict in the second assassination attempt on President Trump's life that summer, 2 summers ago.
Yes, I mean, it's a great day for everybody in America. It's a great day for President Trump and for the Department of Justice, the prosecutors on this case, and the law enforcement that worked every day since that horrible day last year to bring justice to the president and also to the American people. And you've been talking about it for the past half hour or so, but this was a tough case. We had good evidence, but this defendant was pro se. He did everything he could to make the prosecution difficult and to suggest anything other than what the evidence showed, which was this was a calculated, very carefully calculated attempt on the president's life. And I agree with what the person just said. There's a lot of good citizens out there, and in this case, it was not only law enforcement, but it was a really thoughtful citizen who wrote down a license plate and chased Mr. Ruth and helped law enforcement capture him. But I just want to say a big, huge thank you to the prosecution team and the Southern District of Florida U.S. Attorney's Office, because this was just a lot of work. I met with them a couple times over the past few months, and they were completely dedicated to bringing justice to President Trump and for President Trump. And so this was a great day. And also the thank you to the jury as well. It's hard to do what they did and to do what they're supposed to do. And so we're very happy with what happened today.
Yeah, you think about the links between the civilians that were involved in this, the one who saw the suspicious behavior and called it in, and then the jury, which you point out, Attorney General Blanche, that that this is such a significant part of this process. And the prosecutor, Chris Brown, who said that his mission was to prove to this jury, no, this was not a publicity stunt. This man wanted President Trump, who was then candidate Trump, dead. And he was able to convince the jury of that, Todd Blanche, and they asked to see the physical evidence. They deliberated for 2 hours. They asked for a number of pieces of evidence, including the rifle, including the magazine, including the ammo, and they put that all together fairly quickly this afternoon, Todd.
Yes, exactly. And that's a reflection of how the evidence came in and the great work that the prosecution did in presenting the evidence for the last couple of weeks and then in their summations as well. When the jury goes back to deliberate, you never know what they're going to think or what they're going to want or see or do. But when they return a verdict this quickly, after being very thoughtful and asking for, in this case, some of the physical evidence, it's a pure reflection of the prosecution's efforts to explain to the jury in summations exactly why the government met their burden of proof. And listen, it's hard for prosecutors who do this for a living to put the fate of all their work into 12 jurors' hands. But at the end of the day, our justice system works most of the time, and it definitely worked today.
I'm curious what your reaction is as someone who has spent a lot of time in these environments in courtrooms, that according to the people inside the courtroom, after this verdict came down, these 5 verdicts came down, he tried to stab himself in the neck with a pen and was restrained by 4 marshals.
Yes, I heard the same thing, and look, it's very sad, and I'm glad the marshals, it looked like, did exactly what they're supposed to do and leaped to stop the situation. But it's obviously a difficult thing for any defendant hearing guilty over and over and over again. And so this man tried to do something much like what he's been doing for the past year and even before then, which is something that is irrational and not appropriate. And so I'm glad the marshals were able to stop it, because at this point, I think we all want justice, and justice includes a sentence and a term of imprisonment. It doesn't include anything else or anything short of that.
Talk to us about the seriousness of the most serious charge here, because his daughter, obviously, she's upset about how her family has fallen apart as a result of her father's actions. And she said he didn't do anything wrong. And Ryan Ruth argued, nothing happened. I didn't fire any shot. But the most serious charge here is attempted assassination of a major presidential candidate, and it's backed up by the possession of a firearm, count 2, in furtherance of the crime of violence. Talk to us about the seriousness of attempted assassination.
It's reserved for only the worst of crimes short of murder. And it's because we have to protect our political process and our political leaders. And that's exactly what President Trump was last summer. And so and by the way, the evidence that this was a calculated effort to assassinate President Trump is extraordinarily strong. And sure, the jury got it right, but they got it right because the evidence was overwhelming that Ruth really did everything he could. He followed the president around. He did a lot of research on where the president would be. He lied in wait for hours and hours waiting for the president to come around. He found a place on that golf course that was vulnerable to something like this. And if it wasn't for the work, honestly, of a rock star Secret Service agent who saw the muzzle of the gun pointing out of the bushes, who knows what would have happened. So while I'm very sympathetic to the family because of what they've had to go through, make no mistake about it, Mr. Ruth was a calculated attempted assassin. And that's what the jury found today for good reason. And it should be a very serious charge, and it is. And then the gun charge that goes along with it has a mandatory minimum term of imprisonment. And so I expect that Judge Cannon will take all this into account when determining the number of years that Mr. Ruth will be in prison.
I want to put on the screen, Todd, I'm not sure if you are being able to see it, but this is an image from the courtroom artist of Ryan Ruth trying to stab himself with a pen. And in this image, we see 2 marshals who are restraining him. Obviously, this is jarring for anybody in that courtroom, including the jury, who just went through the process of listening to this whole case and hearing him represent himself, Todd.
Yes, I can see what you're showing on the screen. And look, I'm sure it was very traumatic. I was very sad to hear that happened. And I think marshals try to do everything they can to keep that sort of thing from happening, but not surprising that he was allowed to hold a pen. But these guys are very good at what they do, and it looks like they handled it immediately and very quickly, and it doesn't sound like Mr. Ruth was injured in any way. So this is an unfortunate consequence of justice, and it happens not often, but it happens on occasion.
So these top 2 charges, just to get your take on the sentencing, which will be December 18th at 9:30 in the morning, the top 2 charges, attempted assassination of a major presidential candidate and possession of a firearm in furtherance of a crime of violence, both carry life imprisonment. Would you expect that is what will happen here?
I'm not going to begin to try to, tell Judge Cannon what she needs to do. I think if you're a defense counsel or Mr. Ruth, you're hoping that the sentence is a number and not letters, because you're right. The maximum term for both of those counts is life in prison, and the judge will take a lot of factors into consideration when determining an appropriate sentence. But certainly, you try to kill, someone like President Trump, who was a president, running for president, and now is the president.
You're breaking up a little bit, Todd. If you can hear me and you can move a little bit, maybe we'll get that clear signal back that we just had from you a moment ago. And if you can hear me, just one last question for you. David Spunt reported moments ago that technically President Trump could make a victim impact statement at this sentencing. Do you think that may happen?
I haven't spoken with President Trump about that. That's a decision for him. I think the type of impact statement he would make should be obvious. He's talked about this on many occasions publicly, and the effect it's had on him and his family and the people that he loves. So that's something that I'm sure he'll think about, and if he does do it, it'll be something that will be released to the public, I expect.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all remember that summer, and it's worth repeating that this happened almost exactly 2 months after Butler, Pennsylvania's attempt on President Trump's life, Todd.
Yes. Yep, exactly.
So my thanks to...
But justice served.
Thank you so much, Todd Blanche, Deputy Attorney General. Very good to have you with us, sir. Thank you very much for phoning in this afternoon for this breaking news.
Hey, it's Will Kane. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Kane podcast for full episodes right now.